Ooh, listen, this is a commitment. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna hold y'all. It is a commitment.
It really
to do this thing, but I'm enjoying it. This has been therapeutic for me.
Yes, but I'm really trying to not bring my social and political views to this podcast outside of human behavior. I'm trying really hard. It's very hard for me to not say what I want to say today. You don't know.
What I can say is this, because this is a part of human behavior, what's going on, is that it's very important for us, especially those of us who are sensitive to these things. It's a lot. So like, protect your energy, log off, turn off your notifications. Like I turn off my notifications now, especially like I'm on this consecration. I ain't supposed to be on social media like that anyway. So I'm only on here really kind of for this. I do scroll. I've been scrolling a lot lately this past week and I need to stop. I'm supposed to be minimizing my social media time. And especially right now, you have to really, really guard the things you're taking in.
I talked about it yesterday on my social media.
Yeah.
Like briefly, like just doing self-care because I knew I had to like prepare myself mentally for today. And I've been kind of in this intrusive thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And I hate using like trendy words, but I'm trying not to crash out. Because I
also hate that. I know you also hate that term too.
I hate it. I hate that term. I hate
but sometimes it feels like there's moments where you feel it's a good. While we hate it, we're not fond of the word. But sometimes it really feels like a crash out. Like sometimes you just want to just knock the table over, you know?
No, I just hate that people overuse things and then it loses its value and it loses that thing. Yeah. But I know that I'm very particular when it comes to certain things. So
yes,
I'm okay with.
And we shared a post that we're gonna have this conversation on maybe in a couple of weeks about the use of words and finding, because we throw words at stuff, and Jazz is big on this, and I'm learning from her in this space as well. We throw words at things like narcissist, bipolar, but we got to be sensitive and aware of the words we use, and just give it the right descriptive. It can feel like that, but sometimes you're just very particular, and you know you're very and you're maybe a bit aggressive, but I can't diagnose you as bipolar or narcissistic. And maybe
because we don't know. Right? We don't know. And it's like, it's real people out here on medications and their whole lives are falling apart, because they're on meds and they're not on meds. And it's just like, I just get really annoyed with people.
And while we can acknowledge poor behavior, we do have to be careful with the words we use. And poor behavior is poor. Is my picture crooked? Is it my phone? Is it my laptop? Is it me? I feel a little crooked.
I think it's also like your placement, like where you're placed in the photo. It's like you're sitting closer.
I'm not centered.
You're not centered. That's what it is.
I'm not centered.
Yeah. So.
Is that? See, my light is acting real ghetto with me today. Y'all see me finicking with it. It's just one of them days. Let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it bright? I know Manny likes me using warm colors. My lighting specialist. That's the warm. How is that? That's look. This is warm. You like that? Okay. That's the one that Manny. He's the social media. Okay. So our guest is in the waiting room. She's in the green room waiting to join us. So let's get. Do we want to? Okay. So real quick. Welcome everyone who's joined us to H.E.A.L, Holding Each Other Accountable with Love podcast. This is Sunday, January 26th. We are on week 5. Thank you for all those who've been with us from the very beginning and those who are joining in with us now. We appreciate your love and your support and coming back to us week after week after week. We appreciate you. We're committed to this thing. We're excited about it. What's any updates? Do we show you a personal update? So Jazz, we talked about earlier today. Do you want to do that today?
I'm sure.
Okay. So let's get into it so we can bring our guest on and we get into the main topic of this conversation, which is conflicts. One size does not fit all, but real quick, I'll give my quick update. I don't really have one. I'm just blessed to be here, continuing on this journey that I'm on, this transformational journey. I think I might cry this episode because this topic is very near and dear to me. So if I turn my camera off, I'm just getting myself together. I'm gathering myself. But we're here for transparency. and to share our experiences and to gain information and help us add tools to our kit as we adult in this thing called life. All right, Jazz? Yeah. You want to add our guest now? You want to introduce her now? Thanks, Rafi. Okay, she likes the warm color. Cool.
I'll introduce her after. She's in the stage.
Okay, you want to?
Let me. So it's two things. So you said.
Sorry,
okay, so
I jumped the gun.
It's okay. It's okay. Today I called Kiki and I was like, hey, I'm about to start this 10-day cleanse, and I was talking to like my cousin today, and I was thinking about. So first of all, my order came. I ordered it today. It came today. So I happened to be talking to her. It made me think about her. So I told her, I was like, yo, when you go get your blood checked, do you often get diagnosed as like having low vitamin D? And she was like, yeah, a lot of people do. Most people, do. A lot of people have that, right? So I've been on, my health journey, and I'm really big on trying to like reset my body. And we talked about that last week of like me not wanting to use certain things. So my nutrition coach recommended a company. I'm not promoting any company. I'm promoting the thing that the company creates. So vitamin D is very, 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 very essential to our metabolism, the level of inflammation, our energy levels, how we absorb other nutrients. Vitamin D is so, so critical. And a lot of people think that just going outside and being in the sun is enough, and it's not. So I'm in constant research, right? So vitamin D, is connected to our metabolic absorption and things like that. And then having a metabolism that's off can impact your hormones. So for me, it's all connected because it's metabolism, it's hormones, it's inflammation, it's all the things. So I was telling Key, I was like, what if I come every week with like a nutrient or something that I'm really like researching to like share with people, like, hey, this particular thing does this for your body, and you should really, really like do some research for yourself and figure out if this is something you need. And you should also be trying to get your blood taken at least 3 times a year, minimum. At least.
What's the last part? What's the 3 times a year? What?
Getting your blood panels done, like asking your doctor to do a full blood test, check your cortisol levels, check your A1C, even if you're not diabetic, like just check your blood, make sure that everything is functioning right. And then you'll be able to find out if you're anemic, if you have low vitamin D and all of that stuff. Yeah. So right now, I just got this today. I don't know this company that well. I'm just telling you it's vitamin D and K2. So these are 10,000 IUs, because it's very important that you're getting anywhere from like 30,000 to 50,000 IUs within a week, right? So that's like based on some of the research that I do. I don't like taking stuff, and sometimes I forget. I'm one of those people, when you start feeling better, you forget to take the things that help you feel better. So that's kind of like how I operate. So if you haven't had your blood taken in a while, please go get your blood taken. Check your vitamin D levels. If you are low vitamin D, please take the necessary steps to improve that, because increasing your vitamin D level is life-changing if that's something that you struggle with, feeling tired, low energy. It's a lot of things. But I wasn't really prepared to talk about it today, but next week I'll come back and I'll have more.
Let's back into that. Yeah, because I have a friend who put me on he said, when you get D3 plus K2, and you want 5,000 to 10,000 IU.
And that's what this.
Yeah. Yes. And like the higher it is, like you don't have to take it every day. You can take it like 3 times a week. So let's definitely get some more information on that and share that, because I also have a vitamin D deficiency. I'm also anemic. Those are my top 2. And I also and B thiamine. I think that's B. Whatever them ones, one of them B's. But the other name for it is thiamine, and that affects like your energy levels, your recovery. So I am intentional about taking vitamin D, iron, and thiamine, because those are my deficiencies. So it's important that you should know what
I have a whole panel of deficiencies, but we'll get into that next week.
Hey, all right.
Okay. All right. So we have a guest coming on this week. So this is first of all, I'm just very transparent. She is one of my best friends. She is also an educator. She is also a social worker. She is also a counselor. And she has over 20 years of experience working in youth development, case management, and social work. And she's currently getting her state license as a clinician. And we're so excited. We're so excited. So the reason why I wanted her to come on the show is because in this journey that I've been on since 2020, and really learning how to like manage my control issues and my abandonment issues, she's been a constant intermediary between my relationship with God and my relationship with my therapist. So there are things that happen when you start going to therapy that kind of opens Pandora's box, and you have to learn how to process a lot of different things at the same time, while I'm also trying to build a stronger relationship with God. And I'm blessed, extremely blessed, to have a friend who has studied human behavior, criminology, all of the things, and who has worked with youth for over 20 years and been a social worker for over 20 years. And she is an amazing intermediary when it comes to communication, conflict, and accountability. And I'll admit, sometimes I'll be like, hush, I don't want to hear what you're saying right now.
That sounds real familiar.
Listen,
that sounds real familiar.
It's very familiar.
Don't start your analyst. You like, yo, so let me ask you something. How do you feel about this? Don't start it tonight, Jazz. Can you just listen to me talk? But just think about it. I want you to think about it. I don't want to think about it. Let me just talk. Let me just talk right now. We'll analyze it later.
And I'm gonna tell you something. I am not the crash out friend. And she knows
she's not.
I'm not the
somebody else for that.
I'm the friend that's gonna be like,
ready to nuck and buck.
So what's gonna happen after you flip the table? What we doing? Now
like,
I will help you get out. I will help you. I can help you get out of the crash out. But I'm not don't call me if you ready to crash out and go off. Don't call me. I'm not that friend. I'm the friend like, you know you're doing too much.
Nah, Jazz talked me literally off the cliff on my birthday. I'm not gonna hold you. I was like,
take deep breaths. Take deep breaths. But I'm gonna add, let me add, this is a good time.
Let's add Jasmine.
All right, so
now I'll give a round of applause for
hello, ladies. So yeah, so were you able to hear what we were talking about? Okay, cool. We were talking about, I was, telling everybody why I appreciate our friendship so much, and also how you're able to, like, she'd be talking to me in a clinical perspective, and I'd be like, that's the clinical side right now. She'd be like, listen, she can't help it. I just want you to know, she can't help it.
I don't even know that it's clinical. It's just my approach to life.
I love that. But just know I get the residual effects of the clinical approach, because that's like, how do you feel about that? What's the end goal? If you're gonna say that, what's the end goal? I'm like, right now, I'm lighting I'm lighting the match. I'm burning everything down. Right now, we're not thinking about but that's not the right way to do it.
I'm saying, and I'm like, well, how are we gonna get back over the bridge if you burn it down?
Let us use this degree for something.
So we had a conversation a couple of months ago related to one of my friends and their situation. Mm-hmm. And you said something to me about the story we tell ourselves. Do you remember? Can you please share that with the people?
So oftentimes when we engage in conflict, or even sometimes just situations that happen in our lives, we tend to tell ourselves the story. And the story is usually how we felt about the situation, and it's not always factual. So if you go back and you say, well, what did the person actually say? And it can be completely different than what you feel and you respond based off of your feeling. So now if I done told myself this story several times, it now has become fact, unless somebody else is going to dissect this with me, because I'm just all in the feeling of it all. And my response is all emotional, and I'm operating in the story. So I learned about telling ourselves the story in Landmark. And Landmark is like an organization, and they offer like these classes. They're like, I guess, like life classes. And the first day was about the story, and it was specific around parents and like what we tell ourselves about our childhood experiences, and not always knowing who our parents are as people, as individuals, and just knowing who they are as our parent. So that's where I learned about the story. So
that's real.
Listen,
That's real.
You don't know how many times we be talking and she be like, all right, so what's the story? And I'll be like, you know what?
No, that's real.
Did they say that? So where did that feeling come from? Was it what they said? Did they say something to say, oh no, I shouldn't do this thing? Or do you feel like you shouldn't?
Is that your interpretation of from what they said to you?
Or it's not always your interpretation of what they said. Sometimes it's our past experiences. And we navigate in the space, or we view through the lens of our past experiences. And that's just the place that we come from. So it's like, is that some unresolved trauma that you're dealing with? Or did this other thing actually happen?
That's good. It reminds me. Ooh, so good.
I'm having flashbacks. The last 4 years.
But also, Manny said something to me. Me and Manny had some real great conversation over the past few years. And one thing you said something about, knowing your parents outside of your parents. And Manny said to me a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, he said he finally saw me as a person and understood every decision I make. I have to think about him and his sister. And he was so used to, he looked at me more as a robot versus a human being. And he finally saw me as a human. Like, wait, my mom is a person. She has feelings. Everything she does, she has to think about us. And it finally clicked for him because he always saw me in this position of like being mom. Mom took care of it. But now as an adult, he's seeing what really goes into managing a lifestyle, managing a home. He's like, oh, she's a human. I was like, yeah. Because he expressed like he never saw me cry. And I was like, I thought I cried in front of you. He was like, no. I was like, oh, I cry all the time. Like, but just bringing that, I'm always crying. I was talking to Jazz last night about I'm actually very sensitive. I know can have a tough exterior, but that comes from my experience. But I'm very, very sensitive. I cry very easy. But anyway, I don't want to get too into it. But you just brought that back up to my mind when you saying that. That's powerful. Yeah.
So
I'm trying to contain myself. This is so good.
All right. So can you identify, Jasmin, from like, okay, so let's just say someone comes to you and they're like, I'm having this problem with my partner, right? And they identify it as a problem, right? And they're like, this thing keeps happening. Is there a way in which you approach like your clients when they express a problem? Like, how do we define if something is actually a conflict? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
The biggest thing I feel like is always communication, right? It sounds so cliche, but that really is the foundation to everything. So this may indeed be a problem for you. So is it a problem because how have you communicated your problem? Have you now communicated this to this person and this person continues to do the same thing? This is a conflict now because you haven't done anything to cultivate my feelings and how I operate in this space, because it might not be the same and it might not be intentional, or you might not be intentionally harming me. It might be a way in which you've conducted parts of your life throughout life. But in relationship, there's always a compromise. So do you not hear my communication? And now what is the issue around the lack of change so we can operate in a better space?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it might be something that you need to change or you might need to address. And just because you're uncomfortable and you don't like the person being your reflection in your mirror, you make them the problem. So where is the actual problem?
Oh, okay. Okay, you said some things. You said some things. You said some things, Jazz. You said a lot of things. We got to unpack this because I'm very transparent.
There's a couple things I want to go back to that she just said.
Okay, Jazz, because I'm about to take off running. No, first
thing, so you piggyback, Kiki, because that's the first thing. Okay. How realistic is it for you to be for people to be mindful that when they're communicating something, the other person actually heard them? Because it's like, I can tell you, I don't like when you do this, or this thing, like this doesn't work for me. But it's like you said, if that's how they operate in life, like what's you supposed to do?
But Jazz, like she says, sometimes it's not them. It's it's you. It's the person who's offended by whatever it is that they're whatever makes it uncomfortable. They have to be able to look at this. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my experiences that are influencing how I'm feeling right now. The person's not intentionally trying to hurt you. It may so you said like being able to look in because the other part she said the person's mirroring you, right? That was the first part. That was like there's a wait, what? Then the mirror, and then like it might be you. Yeah. You might be the problem. Okay.
Ooh, listen, I've had like she told me that multiple times. I've had to like, okay, I got you. Let me go back.
So one thing that I do for clarity, just like personally, is like, what did you hear me say? Because sometimes what I said and what you heard me say are not the same things. So if we're constantly at an impasse, are you hearing what I'm actually saying? Or are you interpreting it based off of another lens that you see through?
Okay.
So I think if you know, like you know your person and your people, whether in like romantic relationship, friendship, parental, whatever. So if you know that this person and around this issue, like it keeps coming up because it's like they're not getting it, then maybe it's time to ask, what did you hear me say? What are you actually hearing? Because it may be different, and that might be the impasse that needs to be addressed.
Question,
Kiki.
And when you ask this question, what did you hear me say? Right, and they tell you what they heard, and you're like, but that's not it. I didn't say that. What do you do when you clarify? You ask that clarifying question. They tell you what they heard, and then you say, I didn't say that, but they're still committed to what they heard. How do you move? Is it even possible to move past that, or do you just disengage?
I would disengage, because at that point, that tells me like I can't help this blockage that you have. Like that's not my job. My job is not to heal you. So if you're constantly just like in another space than where I am, then this is not going to work. Like we got to be on the same playing field, and everything doesn't always come easy, right? Because we all have different life experiences, but it's like certain things is just, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Like, right. And if this other person can't meet you in the middle, and they can never see themselves, or they can never see what it is that you're actually trying to communicate or convey, then maybe they're not your person. Or maybe you need to go to counseling. Maybe there's somebody else that can help y'all figure it out. But
can we take a step back, Jazz? If you don't, I know I have two Jazzes here. It's like H.E.A.L, can we take a step back? I want to take a step back real quick. If we can just identify the five fighting languages first, just to set up foundation, if you don't mind, so the folks will know what we're talking about, and then we can kind of get back into it, because this is getting good, and I want to make sure we just lay the foundation of like, let's get into those languages, those five languages, because that'll help us inform. But thank you for your answer there too. That was very insightful.
Okay, so I'm processing. But
okay.
So
today,
today's conversation is like conflict. It's not a one size fits all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things when we talked about Jasmin coming on was like, she talked about, well, let's talk about fighting language. I didn't even know this was a thing. Kiki knew it because she read a book about it. I didn't know it was a thing. So in our page for the Heal with Love pod on our Instagram page, there's a link. And Jasmin sent us a link to like a quiz, and it's only a few questions, and it kind of helps you identify how
your fighting language, yeah,
like how you identify with conflict. So some of the fighting language is reflection and action, deflection, suppression, explosion, aggressive, confrontation, and then mediation. Those are some of the words. And I want to talk about a couple of the words. But while we're talking about this, because if we go back to like what the example was about like a relationship, a partnership, right? Capacity.
Mm-hmm.
That comes up a lot for me in my conflict with people, because you've helped me learn, you know, that my capacity for things is like naturally much more than a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great capacity for empathy. I have a great capacity for relationships. I have been able to nurture really, really great relationships with quite a few people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people aren't able to do that. So sometimes for me, when I'm meeting people, working with people, getting to know people, I be thrown off because to me their capacity be like at 0. And I'm like, well, you should just stay in the house. You should just never talk to people. And then Jasmin will be like, well, Jasmin, they're not a 0. That's their 100.
Wow. That's their 100.
That's their 100. And then she's like, compared to them, you're like at 400. So it's like, it used to like, when she used to like, and I don't know if she used that analogy specifically, but like, I remember having conversations and I used to be like, everybody's not like everybody doesn't have this level of empathy and understanding and consideration. And she's like, no. And then I'm like, and then I'm the type of person, I feel bad when I don't show empathy or consideration for others. And she's like, no, you can't do that all the time. So I had to learn how to like at work, and like it's a lot. So I'm just gonna stop right there.
You'll be surprised. I wanna real quick. I know we listed the five languages. Can we just give quick definitions? I have it up to a Jasmin. Do you want to list? Do you want to talk about it, or you want to?
Yeah, I can talk about them.
So just so the audience to understand, because we want to give them.
Some. So I have some stuff on each of them. So reflection slash action. It says this approach is embraced by individuals who prefer to navigate conflicts by processing them internally before engaging in discussion. Such introspective individuals exhibit a tendency to withdraw temporarily, using this time to reflect on their emotions and thoughts. While their exterior may appear composed, it is essential to recognize that this silence is not indicative of disinterest or avoidance, but rather a purposeful pause for self-reflection.
So what is it? So someone who's reflective, they're coming back to reflect and come back and take action, versus someone who's avoided, who will shut down, give you the silent treatment as a way of punishing you. That's the difference there.
And yes, that is the difference between the silence. The silence in this example is not punitive. Right. The silence is so potentially, so I don't fly off the wall. I need to take a pause and let me get this together in here before we can have this discussion. You want me to just go through them?
Keep going.
Okay. Deflection. Deflection is a strategy characterized by the inclination to redirect attention away from the central issue. Those employing this tactic may use humor, change the subject, or attribute blame to external factors, all with the aim of avoiding the core conflict. Research indicates that disruptive jokes or inappropriate comments can undermine the harmony necessary for establishing a secure environment during conflicts. The act of sidetracking discussions can become confusing, creating a disconnection between partners.
Okay, and when you say partners, you're not just talking about romantic. You're talking about
right.
Yeah.
All
right. Yes.
Business, friends.
The term partners, but it's not related. It's not just about romantic relationships. It really is like, how do you deal with conflict across the board? And I would argue that sometimes you might have more than one conflict style, because conflict isn't a one size fits all. So how I might respond to a work situation might be different than how I'm going to respond to conflict with my sister. You know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's real.
So suppression and explosion. So the fight language involves initially concealing one's emotions during a conflict behind a facade of calmness. But beneath this surface composure, emotions simmer and intensify over time, resulting in an eruption that catches both partners off guard. So if you ain't dealing with some stuff and you just like, oh, that's cool, because you don't want to deal with it, you don't want to talk about it, and then you explode. I know a lot of people like that.
Me too.
So like, it's like it's a surprise for you and the other person.
Both. Yeah. You surprise both the people.
It's a surprise for you because it's generally something else that triggered that, right? So it's like we can be having a conversation, a discussion about this one thing, and you said something, and now I'm telling you all the stuff. That I've been holding on to.
Right. Like you come in and like, oh, you left the window open and it's cold. And it's like, oh, you inconsiderate. And like, I just said that you left the window open. Now it's, I don't care about you and I disrespect you and nothing's never enough because you
right. And every time I turn around, it's something else. You leave the window open. I came in the other day and the light was on and you ain't turned out the light. And you
I didn't take my coat off. And I was like, I just said the window. I just said it was cold.
Kitchen sink.
I said it was cold and I closed the window. I didn't even, and now we're sitting here. You throw the whole kitchen sink at me. I didn't. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So that's why both people were surprised because you wasn't intending to go that way, but it has derailed the whole.
I'm anemic. I get cold quickly. It was a cold night. I left the windows open. It's a little breezy in here. That's all I said. Now we're sitting here in shock. This jump. Go ahead.
All right. Aggressive confrontation. This fight language is characterized by an assertive and sometimes aggressive approach to conflict resolution. Individuals who employ this language tend to take control of conversations, raising their voice or using dominating body language to impose their perspective. In the heat of disagreement, the dominating partner may unintentionally overshadow the voice of the other, leaving them feeling unheard or undervalued. And finally, mediation. According to a study, common conflict responses include avoidance, accommodation, competition, compromise, and collaboration. Combining compromise and collaboration as a problem-solving response can ensure that all participants feel their needs are met. So, those are
Thank you for that.
So
fighting languages.
Can we do some self-awareness unpacking?
Yes.
Sure. Because we can talk about this, right? And listen, and I'm okay if you share some of the things you said to me without talking about the people in which we were talking about. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I give you permission to do that. No HIPAA law. No, HIPAA laws. Okay. So here's the thing. This is how I see myself, right? Because I don't know how other people experience me. I see myself when it comes to conflict. Initially, I'm a mediator. I want to fix it. I want to have a conversation. I want you to be very clear about what my issue is. And I'm going to do my best to not be passive. Because I know that I can be passive aggressive, but like passive aggressive on like a petty, it's like petty kind of passive. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm aware of that and I try not to do it. So initially I'm going to try to mediate the situation. I'm going to try to introduce something that's going to fix it. Let's identify this thing so we can talk about it. Then I'm the first one where like I'm going to process it. Yeah, I'm going to process it internally. And then I'm going to try to come back and like talk to you. My last result, and this has happened to me very rarely, I'm going to go off. I'm going to go off and there's no pulling me back. Mm-hmm. And that's the part of myself that I'm more afraid of and more concerned with than any other part. Because I do think, because I do have a high capacity for things and people and the empathy and the whole thing, sometimes I get frustrated because I'm just like, yo, like you could just never consider other people. Like never, it just never, like nothing ever clicks to you that somebody else is having this experience besides you. And I think that like people who are like when I experience something that feels very inconsiderate, immediately I want to go from 0 to 1,000. So when I get to that point, I'm like, all right, let me try to fix it. Then if it keeps happening, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be quiet and I'm gonna process it in my mind. Because if I don't process it in my mind, I don't know. There may be no coming back, because what's gonna come out, the other person probably will never look at me the same again.
Right.
They're gonna be surprised. I'm not gonna be surprised though. But yeah,
both parties are surprised. Just one will be surprised. Not both.
The other person is gonna be surprised. I'm fully aware that it's gonna get there, but they're gonna be like, "I would have never thought you'd say something like that to me."
Yeah. I'm in that boat right now, but you know, but also like you, I give warnings. I give like, hey, let's read this book. Hey, let's find a solution. Because I feel myself getting to a level of frustration. I'm going to finally say some things to you that you're not going to like.
Yeah, I'm much more of like the reflection. And that is because I had to learn to be that way. I feel like growing up, I was constantly told it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Mm-hmm. And nobody gave me an alternative of how to say it. So I had to figure it out. So that takes me taking a beat so you don't get the real rap raw. Because sometimes that's how I feel. I feel that on the inside. But like Jasmin said, if that's what comes out, it can tarnish our relationship. Or, you know, even if like the relationship doesn't end, it still can put kind of this stain on it. And if that's how you always deal with conflict or confrontation, then that's just going to become problematic for the other person. But and then I would think the mediation would be like my secondary. But sometimes it can be aggressive, and my partner is the person that if I become aggressive, he shuts down, and like he just disengages from the whole conversation, and not in a harsh way. He just gets completely quiet, and the conversation is just going to stalemate.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, can we talk about this? And then like, yeah, you started yelling, so I couldn't really focus anymore. That's really the response. I couldn't focus anymore. So yeah, we can talk about it now. So
yeah. But like you said, our conflict styles are based on the relationship, right? So like at work, somebody does something I don't like, I find myself more reflective because I can't afford to be aggressive. People get aggressive in the job, but it doesn't really get you the results you want. And if you're not trying to lose your job, you have to be reflective and like, okay, let me sit back and think about how I'm going to approach this. I think in personal relationships, interrelationships, you kind of expect them to know you a little bit more. So when in conflict, it's like when something comes up, okay, let's talk about it. But I'm also kind of like a mediator. Like in the moment, I kind of like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's reflect through it. But I get frustrated when someone's not willing to see, like we talked about before, willing to hear, go beyond their feelings. Because like you said, feelings are not facts. I can do something to make you feel a way, but when you're committed to your feelings versus the actual, what's really being said, that makes me very frustrated. And when I'm a solution-based person, so if we keep talking about the same thing and going in circles, I think I can maybe come off dismissive. So I'm like, okay, what's the goal here? Because we keep talking about the same thing and we're not finding a resolve. So are we arguing just for the sake of arguing, or are we trying to find a resolve here? Because I can't, first of all, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I have other things that I have children. I have a life. I cannot sit here on this circle, this merry-go-round of feelings if we're not trying to find a resolve. And to be very transparent, the biggest reason why I had to walk away from a relationship was communication. Everything, there were other things that I was able to look, we all can make compromises, something I can look past that I can improve over time. But if our communication is not there and you're not willing to see and hear the other person, that's what my experience was. I can't speak for that person. And my goal is not to bash a person, but like, you're not even trying to see me halfway. You're not even trying to get past your feelings.
Yeah.
And now it becomes, like you said, this stalemate, and like, you're yelling. First of all, yelling at me, I'm shutting down anyway. I'm not even hearing what you got to say because you're yelling. There's nobody, no kids here. Even if you catch yourself and say, oh, I stopped, you still raised your voice. We got to fix this. And if you're not willing to fix it, then like you said, you got to disengage. Because, I come from toxic. I've experienced toxic. I experienced emotional abuse. I experienced very toxic. And I had toxic relationships. So I know what that feels like. And at this phase in my life, from relationship into intimate and even personal, whatever, I cannot deal with anybody who's not willing to have healthy communication. I'm not perfect, but at least if we can work towards it, we can get somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I think about often. It's funny because one of my other sisters, I think she's in here, she hit me earlier. She sent me this video about I think it was the comedian Tony Baker. He's talking about like he's now experiencing like living on his own and he loves it. He was like, oh, I don't want to give this up. And that's like one of the things that I think about, and like I talk to her about sometimes. It's just like me figuring, because like I am a big picture thinker.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think too far ahead. But I like to be able to see the whole thing before I know how to engage. But I'm also learning in this season that I can't complete the photo because everybody ain't in the position they're supposed to be in, right? Cool. But like in thinking about me living alone and really not having conflict in my home, and the idea, just the thought that another human can come in here in my space or what would be our space, and I would have to deal with some type of conflict on a day-to-day basis, it is a turn off. It is really one of the things that I think about, because you can't come up in my house, you can't come up in my space with like too much aggression. I just don't have the capacity for it. And I realized that I've never really dealt with that in romantic relationships. And even in professional relationships, I call it out really quick. I don't live in a world where people can talk crazy to me. I just don't have it. Sometimes I worry about, like, sometimes I think I'm a very open person. Like, just in general, like, you can talk to me about anything. I try to be very open. I try to be very, approachable. But I think I am rigid when it comes to like certain styles of communication around conflict. And it's just like, I'm the type of person, I want to resolve. Like, I'm not going to keep arguing with you about the same thing. I've said it a few times. I don't want to keep saying the same thing, because the more I have to say the same thing, how I process that is that you don't care about me. You don't consider me. You don't care about my feelings. You don't care about how I feel. You don't care about my life. Like, you don't care about nothing. Because I got to keep telling you the same thing over and over again. And that's like one of the things that really hinders me when it comes to like meeting men and dealing with new people. Because at this stage, I just ain't got it. I don't think I have the capacity for it.
So I would say, because one of the things that you said is the idea of someone coming into your space and you being in conflict every day. If this is your person, you would not be in conflict every day.
Right.
You would not be in conflict every week or every month. But just like human beings,
yes, conflicts are all the time. That's not a regular occurrence. Really?
Listen, I've been single for a very long time. I've never invested that much in a man, so I don't know. But it's like what I see out in the world and what I hear and what I experience from other people, it seems like people are in constant conflict with each other.
Well, that would mean that they're in a toxic relationship. And if you are in a healthy relationship, you're not constantly in conflict, like in any other healthy relationship that you have. If you're constantly in conflict with a friend, that friend ain't gonna be your friend no more. If you are constantly in conflict with a family member, either they're not going to be a part of your life or you're going to limit your engagement with this person. It's no different than your partner. If you're in constant conflict with your partner, then y'all have some reevaluations to think about for your relationship. But no, that shouldn't be
may have
a normal thing.
You may have like a season of like y'all not, some things there's a conflict that may go a little over, like sit a period of time or whatever. But I would say for my past relationships, we've had more, quite like moments where it wasn't a lot of conflict, but the conflict that we had, it was like, okay, this is it, but even my last relationship, we had months of bliss and not thinking of the things I didn't like or didn't care for all the time. We're human, we're different people, but it wasn't, then we had a bump. It was like, okay, this is 5 months. This is a lot. It's kind of going on time to reassess the relationship.
Because I'm really trying to like stack my toolbox, conflict resolution, just in case I do get into a relationship again in the next, in this new season of my life.
Yeah.
Because I realized that how I treat my friends and how I treat my family and how I deal with conflict with them is not going to be the same. No. You can't it's not going to be the same. Like, and I know people, and I've experienced people who think that conflict is a one size fits all, and it's like, no, like the way I have conflict with a family member is not the same way I would have conflict with a friend. Right? There's grace that's going to be given depending on the relationship. There's expectations depending on the relationship. And I think for me, because I've been single for so long, I already know, like, I'm very set in certain things about like how I operate as a single person. Mm-hmm. And people have told me that I'm going to have to learn how to compromise. Mm-hmm. And And I'm really trying to be proactive because I'm a very selfish person. And I know this about myself. Like, I don't really even like company like that. Like, I don't. Like, I want to see people when I want to see people. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't need nobody here every day. But I know that that's not going to work if I'm in a relationship, Kiki, because I see it in your face.
Well, because what I'm saying is, Ralph and her husband never lived together. It could work. Cheryl Ralph.
No, I'm not doing they live, but okay. But what I also say is, like, when you find your person, you're dating to vet, you're dating to collect information about the person. You don't have to, you're not moving with them right away, right? So the purpose of dating for a year and a half is to collect data and to watch these things. How do they get when they're upset with somebody else? Can they give it with that person, or they take it out on you? Or okay, how do they act when they're upset with you? How is their patience? What's their threshold? Those things will tell you, okay, can I build a future? Can we live together? Right? Mm-hmm. So this with me with kids, like, I need to know, not only because you're not gonna be yelling at me in front of my kids. You know what I'm saying? So like, people like, so if someone used to live by themselves and you're talking about integrating into a family with me and kids, we loud. Sometimes it gets a little intense in here. How are you able to manage that? How's your temperament when it comes to, so like all those things come into play. So you're not jumping in and living with somebody right away. So I think they consider like you'll know when it's right based on the experiences you have, and someone that's healed and be able to have a conversation, say, hey, Jazz, this is how I feel. You know, this is how we feel. And you can come together and come to that middle ground. Because when somebody don't know how to act right, like Jasmine said, you disengage. This ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Maybe we got to create space so you can reflect and heal and figure out, or we never come back, you know?
Yeah, well, y'all keep me in prayer. That's all.
The relationship is it's not as hard as you think it is in your mind when you with your person.
Right.
Well, I mean, I pray that's going to be my life experience in terms of like being in a relationship with somebody where I'm like, okay, this is my person. I've never experienced that since I was very young. I haven't experienced it in my 20s or 30s. So in my 40s, I don't know. Maybe I'll experience that again.
We're believing that for you. We're believing that for you, that you'll experience that sooner than later.
I think I deserve it.
You know, my approach is right now, like, I want someone who first loves God and fears God, and they understand what God's love is for us, because that will determine and guide their love for me. And if you understand the love of God, this is like where I'm at now, because folks out here just be wilding.
And they know how to apply.
They don't know how to, and have to apply, because you have to be able to have grace and empathy and understanding, and understand that we are human. We mess up every day. If my intention is not malicious, you know, I don't want to say, because that's excusing bad behavior, but there has to be a space of grace.
Absolutely.
And forgiveness. Not forget, but forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. You can't keep throwing things, you know, real quick. You know, I talked about someone throwing a kitchen sink at me a little earlier, and I told you about when Madison said that to me, because Madison had did some things. She was doing some stuff during the week. And I said, you did this and you did that. She said, Ma, can you just stop for a second? Can you do me a favor? I know I did all that stuff to you. I know it made you upset, but can we just focus on what I did today? And I had to stop. And I said, you know what? You're right, because I don't like when someone else did that to me. So here I am doing it. She mirrored me. She turned the mirror on me. She's like, without knowing the term, I was throwing the kitchen sink at her. She's like, that doesn't make me feel good. Can we just focus on today? I got in trouble for the other stuff we talked about. Can we just focus? I was like, you know what? You're right. And I was able to pull back and apologize and just focus on what she did then. You know what I'm saying?
And that is amazing, because I think growing up, and I would like to think that some things have changed with parenting styles. I don't have any children, so I don't know. But I feel like growing up, it was a lot of like, children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Yes.
So conflict with our parents might look a lot different than conflict with you and Madison, or you and Manny, because that right there, an apology,
will never happen.
Baby.
No, go sit down. Sit down.
Exactly. And it's like, my mom and I, we have a great relationship, but my mother did not apologize to me about something until I was an adult. Girl. And when it happened, I was looking at what to do. Like, I said, did she I was stuck.
Yeah, mark it on the calendar. Like,
right. Like, did she just apologize? So that's another thing that everybody doesn't always think about their conflict style with their children. Yeah. And that your children are people too. They're little humans that are developing to be big humans. And we're
perpetuating the cycle. So if we don't teach them something different.
And if you don't teach them how to resolve conflict or be in conflict and how to work through conflict, and you're talking at them and they don't have a voice and like all of these things, then how do they learn conflict? How to deal with conflict? Because then what happens, they go to school, they're going to talk to somebody the same way, because that's how my mama talked to me. So this must be the way that I'm supposed to talk to you. And Miss So-and-so, so now Miss So-and-so got all of this, because they got all of this at home.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, just working as an educator, but then the parent come in and you be like, I see why your kids.
I see why you act like that. And that's kids will humble you. They will humble you. They will give you the biggest piece of humble pie. And I remember Manny got upset. I remember Manny I know I have a temper. I've been working on that. I had a temper. I have it, it's still there. It comes out very. But Manny has the same temper, and I remember seeing it for the first time. I was like, "Ooh, that's me. I don't like that." So like, "Ooh, that's ugly," because kids will show you yourself like that is me. That is all me. But also, I know what that is. It's sometimes it's this nervous energy or feeling uncertain, anxiety, and it can show up in this. So I know when he's like that, I can speak to him and kind of disarm him or give him space, but that shows me what I got to work on. I mean, some people don't, everyone doesn't have that mirror. And that's why we have to be willing to be self-aware and be accountable when someone shares their experience of you. You have to be open to receive that.
Yes. And that is a huge self-reflection. Jesus.
That's a message by itself.
I really need people to take some time with themselves.
And what would you say is ways we can self-reflect? What are some ways in which we can self-reflect? Can you educate us on tools?
Every day. We should self-reflect every day.
Every day. You might want to say a prayer, Lord, show me myself. Show me.
That.
How I can be a better person.
But be ready. When you pray,
be ready. You're gonna show
be ready for the exposure, because it's coming and it ain't gonna feel good. So just be very clear about that. But self-reflection, seriously, I think it is something that we should kind of like. You're not gonna like every single thing. You're just gonna be like, did I do this right? Did I do da da da? But if things are coming up, if this thing keeps coming up, this thing keeps happening, you keep having certain types of conflict, you keep going, you might need to take a look at you. You have a problem on all your jobs, so is everybody else. Whenever you think it's everybody else, that is a good indication that it's time to take a step back and look at yourself.
The common denominator. That's my term. Who is the common denominator?
Everybody. It can't be everybody else. So, and learn to take accountability and be able to hear other people. And like you said, in their experiences of you. Because sometimes what we put out or what our intention is not how it's always received. So you have to be mindful and you have to be open to being able to hear others. And like anything else, if it don't fly, let it fly. Yeah. But
a couple things.
Gotta hear people.
Okay.
A couple things. So that I want to talk about. But just listening to this conversation, it's like, so there's this idea of like malicious behavior. Like, okay, so like you can do something and like you're intending to hurt the person. That's different than me just being myself and you getting hurt in the process of me being who I already am. Because I'm not thinking that I'm going to hurt you, because I've already done this routine or this behavior consistently, right? And now this person or this thing is kind of happening where it's like, this doesn't work for me. And I remember you and I talked one time, Jasmin, and you were like, there are certain words in certain relationships that we shouldn't use. So I want to talk about that. The words that we shouldn't use in relationships. Yes. And then it was something else that you said that I wanted to kind of circle back on, but it skips my mind right now. Oh, okay. So what I've had to, one of the things that I've learned and I'm in learning how to deal with conflict and like being self-reflective is that there was a time in my life where I just perceived myself to never have caused harm to anyone. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think because I had that perspective, I was unable to realize that people don't always take my experience in me doesn't always feel good for other people. Right. So now I kind of walk into a situation with the understanding that I might cause harm or I might offend someone, but I'm very clear that I'm not being malicious because I can't control how the other person is experiencing me. But one of the hardest things I had to learn about myself was that I have a very strong ability to manipulate communication and conversations with people. Mm-hmm. I think really quick. I can really legitimize, and I'm very, very big on communicating words. And what I realize is that a lot of people get frustrated and they just throw words out. And I'm like, well, that's not what that word means. But I knew what the person meant when they said it. So it's like, if I say to you, that's not what the word means, it's going to throw you off and it's going to impact.
Deflection.
Yeah. That's very annoying. It's very annoying. It's very triggering. Because I dated somebody like that and they would say that. I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say. Don't do that.
No, I totally get that. But I've had to learn that, and understand that I have this ability to do this thing because I live my life on communication. Communication is one of the things that I enjoy the most. So I've learned, I have certain skill sets and tools, and I've had to learn you're being manipulative, Jasmin. Don't do that. That people don't like when you experiment.
Listen, it's called self-reflect. No, because
I'm very self-aware.
Yeah, but I wish more people would be that way because you're weaponizing words and manipulating conversation. And I commend your self-awareness because a lot of people can learn from you. You are a role model in that space, and we appreciate your self-awareness. We could got so much stuff, so much peace in the world we could have if people would just take a moment to step back and say, you know what? Yeah, I can have manipulative behavior.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you're a manipulator, but you've admitted that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that I'm being malicious. It's just that I have access to a lot of tools and skills that I've developed over the years, and I use them just immediately. I'm not even thinking that I'm doing this thing until another person is like, well, whoa. And I'm like, oh. So my bad. I didn't mean it. So that was one thing I wanted to talk about because I want you to process that, Jasmin, and talking about the difference between being yourself and being malicious. Because I think sometimes people think you do something and you've taught me this because there are people in my life who have very limited capacities and their way of being sometimes really grinds my gears. But I've had to learn that that's just them being who they are. It's not who they are only with me. That's who they are in the world. Yeah. And that's just their capacity. But what are the words that you say we shouldn't use in relationships?
Personally, I don't curse at people. Right? I don't curse at my partner. I don't curse. I mean, I will curse somebody in the street for filth. Okay? I can read you for filth. My tongue is a weapon and I know it. So I refrain from using curse words and cursing at people because I can't take it back. I can't take back how you felt about that. I don't want to ever emasculate my partner. And it's just, certain. So I'm very intentional about not using that language when I'm upset.
Mm-hmm. So does what the fuck constitute as?
What the fuck? Not so much, but go fuck yourself. That's problematic.
What about don't play in my motherfucking face?
No, because you could simply just say don't play in my face.
Okay, so leave out the MF. Okay, next.
You gonna write that down?
I'm learning. I'm gonna write this. Leave out. Just say don't play in my face. Gotcha. Just
because your tone, your delivery is gonna imply the MFing part without having to actually use those words. So
listen, I'm here to be held accountable. Holding her accountable with love. That's what we're here for.
Outside of curse words or calling somebody out of their name or just being harmful, words are words. Just use your words wisely. Don't use words to cut people.
Oh, you talking about Jazz saying always and stuff like that?
Always never.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it was always never. And I can't think of the third one right now.
Can you break down why you don't use always and never?
Because it's never absolute. Like something doesn't always happen. And it's like, oh, you never throw out the trash. Do you never throw out the trash? Or they didn't take out the trash this week. And now you're fed up. So words like never and always usually don't fit into a conversation because it's not usually true. So because we just had a situation, I felt like I wasn't heard. And I say, you never hear what I gotta say. You never listen to me. You never take my feelings into consideration. Well, is it never or was it this time? Because those are two different things.
Mm-hmm. So essentially, when in conflict, you want people to like self-reflect. Not you, but I'm just saying like it's helpful to self-reflect and be aware even in the conflict in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who got time for that?
Yes. But that is a part of mindfulness. That is a part of mindfulness to be in self-control.
Self-regulate.
Yes. So,
you mean responsible for your own emotions and feelings?
Yes. Absolutely.
Wow. That's interesting.
So that is important. And also learning, so doing like taking this quiz or talking about these conflict styles, knowing your partner's conflict style. What's your partner's conflict language? Because we talk a lot about love languages and, I like gifts and, physical touch and like all of these things. And we talk about that a lot. That's become a big part of conversation. But what is your conflict style? How does your partner engage in conflict? How do you engage in conflict? And how can y'all blend these styles or have a better understanding of your partner in conflict? Because that allows you to have grace. That allows you to maybe take a step back if you know that this thing, like I know this thing is tied to something else. It ain't really about me, or it's not really about what's happening right now. I got to step back and let you have this moment. That is mindfulness, and that is very helpful in conflict. So there's like, I can say, like my sister is very sensitive, right? So I had to learn to be very mindful of the words that I use when I'm in conflict with her, my tone when I'm in conflict with her. And sometimes that means that I can't deal with this today. Sometimes that means based off of our conversation, I know that you're not going to receive what I have to say. So we're not going to talk about it today. Because if you know your person and you want what you're saying to be heard and to be received, you have to also, you have to know when it's a good time.
Yeah. That's real.
Because like I could talk to her and I know like when she's a little more chatty, when she's a little more like, I don't really feel like talking, kind of thing. So she's not in a mood to really talk and engage. And I'm like, hey, what about this thing? She ain't gonna hear what I gotta say.
Yeah. Whew. That's one of the biggest learnings I learned most recently, because I'm a very much like, let's talk about it now. Like when I have a conference, if there's a conflict, I would, if I have the space and time for it at the moment, I want to talk about it now, and I'll push the person like, no, let's talk about it now. Like they're not ready, and have, like you said, learning and understanding their conflict style to know when to give them space to process and go, to help them reflect or whatever they have to do for them, and however they manage and work through conflicts.
Okay.
For me, yeah. No, because I was thinking like it could be very surprising. Someone could be very different in how they show up in like day to day in your relationship, and then their conflict could be very jarring. Their conflict could be very, because it's opposite of what you've experienced with them when you're not in conflict. And I have a question for you. When you observe, you said a point like the way somebody may respond to you, it's like you realize this is not me. This is something with them. Do you believe if you have a partner or a friend and you're saying, hey, and you say to the person, this is not me. That's what's happening here. I'm observing what's going on here. This is something deeper to me. Is that an observation or a judgment? If you're saying like, hey, the even way you're reacting to me, this feels like this is a trauma response. Or that's an observation. So if I say, listen, I feel like your trauma is kind of bleeding on this. Feels like this is deeper than this conflict we're having. So is that you say it's observation versus judgment, is how I say it?
It's definitely how you say it. It's definitely, it's definitely not always what you say, but how you say. But that is an observation, because 9 times out of 10, this person has shared things with you where you know that this is coming from another place. And if you're able to really pinpoint a situation for the person, that should be helpful. But sometimes that other person might feel like it's a dig because they haven't dealt with their stuff. And again, that's not your problem. So you then have to decide where your grace lies, where your patience lies, and what you're willing to deal with, if the person is also willing to navigate and work through their stuff. If they're not willing, then you just wasting time. Like your feelings is in it, and I get all of that, and it's not always just easy that, as soon as something pops up that you walk away. But if the person is not willing to work on themselves for the sake of themselves and for your relationship, then you got decisions to make. You have decisions to make.
And sometimes we have this idea of like struggling through. Like, I know there's things we got to work through as when you get to know people, but I'm not with that struggle. I no longer subscribe to the struggle of sense of like, I got to go through some really traumatic stuff to get to the other side. I know it's challenge, like you said, compromise and growing pains, but there's some things I don't know. I'm not fighting with you. No, I'm not looking to bucket. I don't got the energy for that. I think
a lot of what we see, like Jasmin said, like, from the outside looking in, I thought people in relation was in conflict all the time. But I think it's also the images that we see, or the shows that, like, growing up, I love Martin growing up. Martin and Gina had an unhealthy goddamn relationship.
That's real.
But if that is your role model for relationship, or like this is just normal things that people go through, then you go and drag yourself through some unnecessary stuff, because no, this is not normal, and no, you don't have to go through this. Like, you don't, like, you just don't.
There's a lot of that's, and I'm grateful because I've had a lot more, even, and for me personally, like real life examples of healthy relationships, seeing men who honor their women, who take pride in not just providing, but protecting, and understanding providing is not just monetary. Providing is also that emotional safety, that psychological safety. Even if they don't always get 100% right, or they can still, have their ways, but there's a level of respect. They don't, like you said, they don't curse. I think they don't raise their voice. That we may get, you get frustrated, but there is to your point, they know how to apply God's love to the woman that they choose, and they choose each other. So I'm grateful for the real life. I have examples of men who, that understand that and live that.
Yeah.
So that's like my guiding light too. So I didn't always listen to why, I didn't always apply it to the men I chose, but now I've looked at those things and like, no, I know what that looks like. I've seen it in my life by my, my godfather, my uncles, my pastor, who shows an example of being gentle with their, and handling their women with care. And when you set that example, men, and I don't want to get into the gender roles, but I do truly believe that men set the tone in that. And if you want a woman to, I don't want to get into this podcast talk about, gender roles, but you'll be surprised how a woman responds to you when you know how to handle them with care. And like vice versa, we're not looking to bash down, like they said, like emasculate a man, but you'd be surprised the tone you set and the way you handle someone. Across the board. Yeah.
I think that also talks about, like, right, because like because now that I'm glad you said that, because like I really hate divisive conversations.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think we're all having human experiences, whether you're male, female, trans, however you identify yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think shitty people come in all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely.
Amen.
I think people who are immature emotionally, mentally, spiritually, who have not developed past a certain point, it could be because they had a really traumatic experience at a really pivotal part of their development, and maybe they haven't been able to emotionally move past that because they haven't been given the tools to deal with that. I have experienced that a lot in people. And that was one of the reasons why I went to therapy, because it was a mirror for myself. Because I realized the reason why I participated in relationships the way I did is because there was a part of me that kind of stopped growing emotionally and like my vulnerability past a certain point once I experienced this traumatic thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this part of like, I feel like we live in a society where everybody thinks that there's more. Everybody thinks the grass is always greener. And everybody thinks that I deserve to have all of these other things. And it's just like, you haven't done the work. And even if you do the work, it doesn't mean it's going to come.
And it's not linear.
Life is not linear. Like, because
No.
you do these things does not mean that these other things are going to come. And I feel like people don't really focus on what they have in front of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So one of the things that Kiki talked about, like men and women, I think, this is just my opinion, from a social construct perspective, I think men and women are socialized differently.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I believe because we're socialized differently, it impacts how we communicate, how we participate in conflict, how we participate in relationships, and how we participate in our family dynamics from a social perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Telling your son to stop crying because he's acting like a girl is unhealthy.
Absolutely.
Because then you have an adult man who is afraid
to
express his emotions in front of women. Stop telling your sons that he acting like a girl. Sorry, I just had to get that off. Because it irritates my spirit when I hear women tell their sons to stop acting like a girl. No.
There's men who do that. Or tell them, don't play with, you not playing with girl toys. Like listen, honey.
Yes, stop. Like, stop.
If they're gonna be gay, they're gonna be gay. I just newsflash. Whether they play with G.I. Joes all day or Tonka trucks, or if they are gonna, you can't change who they're gonna be, who they're.
It is
not gonna change nothing. Let them be who they're gonna be.
Like, please stop. Not parents, please stop.
They're not gonna turn gay if they play with a doll. I promise you.
Like, it's not gonna make them gay. but
it does block their level of empathy, though. So as a woman, when you're looking for empathy, when you're looking for that grace, they don't know how to meet you there because that part of themselves wasn't developed, because they were told that they needed to be strong. They were told that they shouldn't cry. They were told that, these things are done behind closed doors and you got to be macho and you got to be strong all the time. And that's not real. And that's not life, because they're human beings too. And girls,
and you should,
you pacify the sensitivities and you do all of these things. And how is this supposed to merge?
Right.
At some point,
we're being told one thing and they're being told something different.
Right.
And then
we're trying to navigate this. Trying to get to the middle. Like I was telling Jazz yesterday, like I was saying earlier, I'm a crier, but I was taught younger, don't cry. That shows your weakness. Don't. But what's wrong with showing your weakness? What's wrong with showing that I'm upset? I cry when I'm happy. I'm crying when I'm mad. I'm crying when I'm sad. I'm just a natural crier. It doesn't mean that I'm weak. And I even know men sometimes when you cry, they don't even know how to. They're like, "Oh, you're crying. What are you doing?" Like, they don't even know how to handle your emotion. But
and that's when you learn. And sometimes girls learn to manipulate those tears because of that. Like I knew that my father could not take crying, and he could not take confrontation. So if I'm upset, I'm gonna get my way. If I'm crying, I'm gonna get my way. I already know.
Oh, that is very true.
Right? So it's like
we know how to manipulate.
This is what I need to do.
Tears out. My grandfather was like that. I knew how to. About Kiki was upset. His Coco was upset. Cleared away.
That's it.
Yeah, like I just wish that. Well, what I'm hoping, right, and with this podcast, and just like because the world is on fire, but that's a whole other conversation. Girl. But it's just like I want to be in healthy relationships in every part of my life, spiritually, professionally, personally. I want to be in healthy relationships. I want to be able to talk to the people that I say I care about, I love, and I consider. I respect you. I admire you. I want to be able to feel comfortable enough to come to you and have a conversation. And for me, what is becoming for me is that I'm realizing that one of the things that is going to be a very clear expectation when I am dating is self-awareness. Yes. Because if I ask you a question and you can't tell me how you feel about something that is a part of your life and your existence, to me, that's a red flag. Yeah. I don't care about, and I know people are going to say you care. Like, yeah, you need to have a job and you need to be able to sustain your life. Because I'm not a sugar mama. I don't believe in that. But it's like, I don't understand women who spend money on men. But no judgment. I'm just saying I don't understand it. It doesn't process I don't understand the sugar mama and sugar daddy mentality. I don't understand it on both levels. But that's a whole other thing. But I'm just saying, like, you got to be able to sustain the life that you've created for yourself outside of me. Yeah. And I need to be able to sustain the life that I've created for myself out, whatever. There are basic things that I cannot understand. And I they are really red flags to me. And I hate using, trendy terms, but it's just like, if we're having a conversation and we're talking about like our childhood and things like that, and you can't connect any of your behavior, anything to stuff that's happened to you. And it's like, I'm the only one who's been able, well, maybe, have you ever thought about this? And like, you go from 0 to 100, you don't know me. Okay, cool. You lack self-awareness. I don't think that this is not going to work for me. And I'm really trying to what I'm trying to do in myself, like for myself, get to a place where I'm okay with disengaging. Because letting go is a really big thing for me. I don't walk away easy. Like, I'm not a walk away kind of person. I'm a ride this shit till the wheels fall off. Mm-hmm. But I've learned in this season of my life, I don't need to ride everything till the wheels fall off. The wheel went around once or twice, and girl, you had a good time and going about your business. So that's
I think some women do that because it's a mindset of scarcity. You feel like, let me stay here because it's the best thing. You think this is the best you can get. And you stay there. Like, and when I was engaged, I was like, is this it? Do I gotta, this is the best I'm gonna get? And one day I was like, no, I'm not happy. And I want to know that I know this is my person. And based on what I've seen, and I've stayed for that reason of like, I'm gonna ride this thing out. But I was like, yeah, nah. And I finally had to say, yeah, I'm not happy. I'm not doing this anymore. And I'm willing to take a chance in finding what is healthy and what is right in my person. And I know this is not it. And even now with dating, I struggle with that a little bit. But the reason I was able to walk away from a situation that was not healthy, because it's like, nah, I already committed to myself. I'm not staying somewhere with that mindset. Like, yes, this person's done some amazing things and is amazing because they're a great person, right? They've done some nice things and they have some great attributes to them. But a red flag is like, you don't know what you need. If I say, hey, what do you need from me? I don't know. I want to encourage men to figure out what you need. Figure out what you need that speaks to you feeling loved and seen appreciated, and not just bringing that up in conflict.
Yeah.
Understand what you need.
Women stay sometimes for scarcity, and I think it's also what a lot of women are taught.
Yes.
We're taught to stick around, to stick it through. Some women, especially at different eras and different times, you're taught men are going to be men. and you gotta give them. You just gotta let them go. And
as long as he got a good job and money, he paid a bill, girl. You stick it through.
So we're
learn how to coddle him.
We're taught to stick it out, to stick it through, and to deal with the BS. And men are not taught the same thing. Men are not taught relationships in the same way. Like girls, what girls idolize, some young girls idolize weddings and getting married and this fairy tale and this fantasy of what love looks like. Boys don't do that. Boys are not
sow their oats.
Right. They're not taught to do that. They're not taught that as a social construct. So now we get into relationship as adult, and it's like, well, what is wrong with this man? Well, who taught him to be anything other than?
Right. And then I remember when I was talking to my godfather, he was like, you got to know how to, when he is, again, we're conditioned to be like, okay, you got to know how to, when he's doing that, you got to know how to divert. That's a lot of emotional labor, you know, going into like, that's one-sided of like, because you're going to sacrifice, women are taught to sacrifice, knowing that these men cannot show up for them in this way, but then you have to, so when he's having this moment and he's not hearing, he's misunderstanding what you're saying, and he's having a moment, you got to know when to go within, get quiet, control your emotions, not get defensive, and let him go through this thing while he works through his emotions, say all the things to you, and you got to sit there and you got to pray through it till he get through it.
No,
and and then you channel that inner power, and then when he gets through it, okay, honey, you make his dinner and you empty his things, his things, and you say goodnight.
Wait. Okay, so two things, right? So I want to be a little bit.
Am I lying?
No, but I want to be a little bit of an advocate, right? I'm not gonna say that.
Okay.
I want to be a little bit of an advocate, right? For somebody like me, right? You know that I'm very self-aware. You know that I'm very self-aware, right? Mm-hmm. If I came to you with a dude and I'm like, hey, this is who I'm dating now, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the interim of us dating, I'm sharing things with both of you, right? I'm sharing things and I'm just like, this happened, I don't like this. This happened, I don't like that, right? This is how I personally feel. If you are self-aware and you've done some work for yourself and you keep kind of having the same experience with a particular person, at some point, it's no longer his fault. Because this person has shown you their capacity. And it's not fair for you to keep trying to get this man to be a triangle when he is square.
Right.
Because it's like you've identified, it's been very clear to you that this person is a triangle. They have these sharp edges, and the edges won't manipulate the way you would like them to manipulate. A circle can't fit in it, and neither can a square. Mm. I am someone, and this is how I operate, and it doesn't probably work for everybody. I want to be fully accountable in every situation that I've ever been in, and any situation I go in moving forward, because I can't be with somebody for 2 years and then realize that it's not working and then say I wasted time. No, I made a choice. Yeah. And I think more women, I think more women have to accept, more men have to accept, people have to accept, humans have to accept that you're making choices. Yeah. You're making a choice.
And be accountable.
And you got to be accountable, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Because the moment you disengage from your level of accountability for being with this person, you have lost yourself right there. Because then you can't get back to center. If you can't walk into a situation and say, yo, I chose this. I stayed for this amount of time for whatever the reason, because you don't owe nobody no explanation. You only owe yourself. Nobody needs to know why you stayed. It ain't nobody business. Mind your business. I ain't got no black eyes and I ain't in the hospital. If it's not a life or death situation where a person is beating you or like really abusing you, you don't have to answer to nobody why you stayed that long. But if it gets to a point where you decide to walk away, you can't then look at the last 2 years and say you wasted time. No, you made a choice.
You chose to stay.
You chose. And now the choice is not what you want, is no longer what you want. Because everybody does have a capacity. And I've had to learn that. And Jasmin can attest. Okay? I have been in 2 situations, right, with 2 different men where I've had to accept that they did not have the capacity to meet me where I was. And the more I tried to get him to see me, hear me, do what I wanted him to do, it only made one person upset. And it's just like, so it's like, I want to, like, I believe that men and women are socialized differently. I believe we totally come to situations different, but we're all having a human experience.
Yeah.
And in the human experience, you got to be accountable for the choices you make.
Absolutely.
100%.
I want you to be there for 3 years. You did that.
I just want to debate one point. I don't think it's always trying to change the triangle to a square. I think sometimes you want them to see that they're a triangle and understand you a triangle and I'm a square. Unless what?
But you still not letting them be who they are.
No, I be a triangle. No, I want you to be a triangle, but I want you to acknowledge you're a triangle. Sometimes I don't want to change you because the point of being with someone is accepting for who they are and learning to grow together. So the point I'm saying is be a triangle, but I want you to recognize some sharp points on your triangle and be aware of your triangle, your shape, and understand how we could work together with our different shapes to come together and make a whole piece.
But you're still asking them to change.
Like,
but you're still
really
asking. If somebody is not self-aware.
Okay. But I think some things is not even changing. Well, yeah, I think relationships should encourage growth, and it's going to coming into compromise.
Yes.
There is supposed to be response. There is a level of expectation of change, because if you're coming in to stay yourself, then you should be in a relationship. You're supposed to come in with the openness to, like, okay, I have to move adjust a certain way. Just like when you have a child, you prepare the space for that child. You put the safety corners on the furniture. You put things up higher because you understand you're now adapting your space for someone else to come in. So when you're talking about bringing someone into your life and sharing your life with someone, you're going to have to adapt. You're not, and so it's only, there has to be some change. You compromise, it's not going to be comfortable, but you have to be open to it.
Yeah.
And if to get to your point, I may stick around for a year and have to say, maybe, okay, it's going to take a little time. We all figured it out. And then finally it's like, yeah, no, you're not even trying to, because sometimes it's like, okay, maybe it's a learning curve. Everybody don't move as quickly. Now I may do a year and a half. I ain't doing 5. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know after a year and a half, we ain't get some type, or I may be more inclined to stick around based on your approach to things. Hey, I know we're struggling through this, but I'm committed to getting through this with you. But if you just being like, I don't care.
Yeah, I think age plays a part in that too, because at 40, you're much more aware of yourself. You're much more aware of what you can tolerate and what you can't. And at the end of the day, we ain't got a whole lot of time left. So if you trying to get married, or you trying to have another kid, or you trying to do these things, I ain't got a lot of time.
Listen, we ain't got time for all these games.
I got more time. I'm a little dumb. I might engage or stick around longer than I should. Or sometimes you're with somebody for a period of time and you just example. My ex and I were high school sweethearts, but we were together until we were in our 30s, right? So sometimes you have this thought of like, you've been together for so long, it could work itself out. And it might be a little bit harder to walk away. And so maybe you get to the point of like, nah, this ain't it. But I think we tend to stick around for different reasons, different phases, different times of our lives. Hope. A lot of times we just holding out hope.
Potential. Hope for potential.
Right. And that's the self-reflection part that comes in. Am I holding out hope because this can really go somewhere? Am I holding out hope because I don't want to be alone? Am I holding out hope because they've given me examples of you know, the direction that they want to move in. I can see, you know, the growth, and it might not be going as fast as I want it to go, but I can see that some changes have been made. Or you holding out hope because he piping you down well. Like what we hoping for?
Gee, that black mango tea has it in a chokehold.
So it's like you the self-reflection always comes in. Why am I making the choices that I'm making? Are these rational choices? Are these emotional choices?
Yeah.
And sometimes you're okay with this is the thing too. Sometimes you have recognized that you in the shit and you're not ready to leave the shit. And that is okay too. But the most important thing is that you are aware of what's happening, right? You could be like, I am so stupid right now. I know that I am stupid in love.
I'm drunk in love. I
am like, I don't know why I'm making these choices. I don't know, but oh girl, it's just something. But I don't have a problem with that if you know. I find it to be more problematic when you are telling yourself a story about this person that ain't real, and you living in a fantasy. Like, you gotta navigate in reality.
Yeah,
I don't know how people go to this fantasy place and trick themselves into like something that's not real. I don't know how to do that. I know that I've stuck around in some things, and I know that I'm like, I know this shit ain't going nowhere. I know it's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
But why I didn't leave, how I didn't leave, I'm more concerned about you being hurt than I am about whatever the choice is.
Yeah.
Just know, just try to know why you are making the choices that you are making.
Yeah.
And I mean, stay as long as you want, but just know.
Just know why you're there. But like you said, like at this big age we're at now, like, and I remember I asked someone, like, if I never change, because this is what I learned to apply. Looking at this person right now, if they never change, can I stay with them?
Right.
And I asked the last person I dated, I said, because this is how I would describe it. They had a visceral reaction to me just being myself. And so y'all know me, I like to crack jokes. Mm-hmm. And I just naturally, I love humor. I love to laugh. But they didn't find some of my jokes funny. And they took my jokes as an attack. And I was like, no, I'm just, I'm witty.
Right.
I shoot
it's like,
and it was like, no, like, right.
Just...
I grew up with boys. Like, that's how I am. But it didn't land well with them, right? So I had to learn. It took me a little while to learn that I can joke about a certain thing about them. Because I was like, what are you saying for? Why you so, like, I'm like, I've never heard that. This has never been a problem, right? But what I'm getting to is this. And at one point I asked her, I said, this is who I am. Like, I crack jokes. This is not, it's not malicious. I'm not picking on you. I don't rewrite my joke. I don't pre-write my jokes to joke on you later on today. This stuff comes to my head. Like, Jasmin, like, yo, shit, what do you talk to God about it? Because he literally, like, the stuff comes up off the cuff, and I'm like this. Because growing up with boys, you gotta be quick. You got it's hot fire, pop, 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 pop. Yep. And I can say something not realizing they're like, oh. And my friends, the thing is, my friends know me enough that if I do say a joke, they go, okay, that was too far. Oh, my bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's not, again, there's no malice there. And I had to ask the question, if I never change, can you see yourself with me? Because your visual reaction to me being myself, my therapist said, if you change yourself in this way of like being who you are, and you have to like downplay yourself for someone, resentment's going to come from that.
Yep.
So you got to be very careful to the point, the difference of compromising and losing yourself because someone's not willing to see, okay. And I'm going to say, okay, now I know I can't, like, it took me a couple months to figure out, like, what is it, the joke or is it type of, okay. So now once I realized what it was, after that, they never had it once, because my goal is not to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right.
So once I realized what it was, the type of joke, the area I was talking about, I can't joke about that. Cool. Bad. Never happened again. Mm-hmm. Never joked about those things again.
It's funny as shit. I just want to say that. Y'all jokes be
but like, if you can't appreciate my but that's but here's the thing.
Jokes, the shit that comes.
But you gotta appreciate my sense of humor.
Right. You have to appreciate my sense of humor. And most men that I've dated, we knew my grandparents were quick, like they would sit there and shoot the shits together. They were from Far Rockaway, Queens. They would sit there and go back and forth. I love that energy. Like they would crack. So like for me, if I'm gonna be with somebody, you gotta know how to understand my humor and go back. I've dated men, we go back, we can crack those each other all day, laughing, belly laughing. But if you one go too far and you like, why are you picking on me? No, stop. Don't do that. Okay. But like they get highly offended, and it's like
the church.
Because my intention, I'm not trying to
the church finger.
I'm trying to, because my goal is not to offend anyone, and they may see this. Jazz is their friend, so they may see the playback. I don't know. But
thank you, Jasmin. You heard that, right? You caught it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I do?
No, that's okay. We'll talk about it offline. You heard it. I just want to make sure I'm not crazy. You heard it. We're gonna play back. Don't worry about it.
But you see how quick I'm with? I don't realize it's not my shit.
You don't even realize it's so quick. I be like, yo.
I'm so quick with it. So like,
I get it.
But so what I'm saying is like, then you're like, you're offended by something I say, and I'm like, I didn't mean like that. And then I get hurt because I'm like, for someone to think that I would do something intentionally to hurt them hurts me because I don't operate from that space.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, I ask people, if I can't stay looking at you at this point and I can't be with you at this point, that shouldn't be with you, and vice versa. And I can accept that. If me being me is too much for you, thank you for this experience. I appreciate your time. I wish you the best.
So in regards to the joke thing, see, I love to laugh, right? And I'm comfortable enough with myself. Like, I know the funny things about me that people in my life know about, right? So when they make jokes about it, we laugh together. There's quite a few things, right? So here's my theory on jokes, right? All jokes are rooted in truth. There's something true about the thing, or there's something, right? This is just my personal belief. People who can't take a joke, I think they live in a space of insecurity. They're constantly worried about how people see them, view them, and experience them. So they're never able to like step outside of themselves and see that shit is humor. Because comedians literally get on stage and they make money for telling the truth. And it's a joke, right? Mm-hmm. Now, here's the flip side of that. I do believe there are people who are just naturally sensitive. And they don't know how to step outside of themselves. And I think you have to be aware of those things. But now here's my question for you, Jasmin. I think that there's a limit to like, there's a parameter for sensitivity. Is it okay for me to tell someone I think you're being overly sensitive? Am I dismissing their experience by saying, I think you're being overly sensitive?
Yes. Because if this is their level of sensitivity across the board, that's who they are.
That's who they are. Yeah.
So they might be too sensitive for you. So now you have to evaluate what you want to put up with, but you can't change the person. Now, if it's a situation and you might feel like they're being overly sensitive about this situation, it's a conversation. They might not like what you say, but it's a conversation to be had. But if that is just how this person is, that's how they are, in the same way that you are who you are.
Right.
I was asking for a friend. I don't have.
Okay. That's fine.
I'm witty. I'm not funny. I'm witty. I make people laugh from time to time. But what I will say for the people watching, and shout out to the people who have logged in, because quite a few people logged in on my page. I know.
Yeah, they all. I'm not reading the comments tonight because I'm trying to. I'm sorry, y'all, but I see y'all comments. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of comments, but Kiki, I know Kiki folks.
They're very engaged tonight, but I'm just not reading them back.
I appreciate it. But a lot of people logged in from my page. Well, damn. So, okay. What was I saying? I was asking for a friend about that particular thing. And one of the things that I'm trying to figure out and being a friend with someone that I think is overly sensitive about a situation. I also see them as being, I experience them having a lack of self-awareness, right? I'm the friend. If you call me and you say, I'm going to curse this mug out. Oh, word? What happened? Right? I'm going to ask what happened. And then I'm going to listen. And then I'm going to say, hey, so is there anything that you could have done differently to stop this from happening or to prevented this from happening? That's how I experience the world. And I realized that some people don't ever see how they contributed to the thing. So it's like, you contributed to the situation. Now the other person is very witty. They're very humorous. They know how to crack jokes. So it's like, now you feel like you're the brunt of a joke, but it's because you're not seeing yourself. Like, nobody's trying to hurt your feelings, but in this moment, you can't see yourself. And that's funny because you're grown. And nobody understands whether you're not seeing what everybody else is seeing. So I say all that to say, the people in the comments, I just want y'all to know, like, Jasmin, when she said that her mouth is a weapon, like, her words, the things that she says to me, we just be talking. I'm like, yo, where did that come from? Like, what process in your brain that told you that you should say this to that person when they said that thing? And how long did it take you? And I've experienced it. Like, it don't take how long. It's like, you say something and she's like that. And I'm like, yo, that's wild, crazy, right? That's wild. Like, you're wild for that. I don't even know where that came from.
And I don't recognize it.
And she doesn't even recognize it. Now, Kiki.
I can relate, Jazz. I can relate.
Now, Kiki, yo, I'll be like, it's at the point now, for the last couple of nights, I've been telling her, like, yo, I think you should just start writing jokes. Because at some point I'm gonna produce my memoir, like, it's gonna be a visual. And I've already told people, Jasmin and Kiki are definitely in the writer's room. Because there is like something about responsive humor or responsive people. And when it's like that wit that happens in the moment, that's real life.
Yeah.
Those are like real, like, human experiences. And it, like, when people can never, like, just be in those moments, like, this is life happening in the moment, and you make it all about you, and you want to
party pooper. You're
like,
boring.
You're party pooper. Like, bull.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I told one of my family members the other day, I was like, listen, I love you, but sometimes you gotta learn to read the room.
You gotta be able to laugh at yourself sometimes too.
Like,
don't be so serious.
Be able to laugh at yourself.
Because life is too short. You can sit here just everybody like, what is get over yourself.
Like, laugh. Because this shit you not laughing is not gonna make it get better.
No,
it's not.
But if you laugh, it's gonna make you feel better in the moment.
I promise you. I promise you it will.
And sometimes you have to say something in hopes that people can recognize and see themselves. Because I had a situation recently with my humor not landing so well for the person, but the person is someone who, like, knows me, who has known me for a very long time, and it's like, you know me, and sometimes you could banter and go back and forth with me, and sometimes you don't, and when you don't, then I become the problem. And I was like, I don't really know when it's okay to be me or when I have to curtail my energy because of something that you're dealing with. And that's not fair to me.
That's exhausting.
You're giving me mixed messages. Yeah. But the person in this situation was able to say, you're right. Like, you're right. I've been dealing with some stuff that I haven't shared, that I've been keeping to myself. And my response is more about what I'm dealing with than what you said.
Look at that. Look at that. A great example of self-awareness and accountability. Let's give that person a round of applause. That's amazing. That's amazing.
But it's like, but I had to say, like, yo, I don't know who you want me to be.
I don't know. I'm walking on eggshells.
I don't know who you want me to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can only be myself, and I'm a square.
Yeah, and I've recognized in myself, like, prior to 2020, that I walked on eggshells with quite a few people in my life, not because I was afraid of them, but because I was afraid of what I was going to say and if the relationship would be able to recover. And it was like a processing for me. And once I was able to process, like, hey, if you being yourself or saying how you really feel makes somebody not want to be in your life anymore, then that's not something you can do anything about, but you don't have to disrespect them.
Right.
So that's where I am now. Like, I don't want to disrespect people because I like my thoughts. Like, I'm just gonna say this. I don't agree, but I understand everything 50 Cent has ever done publicly. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I agree with
that's
it.
That's because 50 is your spirit animal.
He is.
Right.
And I don't agree with the things he does.
You don't agree that it should be done publicly.
I understand his thought.
What about privately though? Like, sometimes privately.
No. I don't think it should be done publicly or privately. But what I'm saying is that when I see the things he says and the things he does, I understand how his thought process got there. I understand. I can't explain it. I understand it. But I'm self-regulated. I'm never like it. I don't know what it would take for me to go from 0 to 100 in a moment, and I never want to experience that version of myself.
Yeah,
so I'm too cute to be in jail. I don't think I would. I do feel like that would be me heading into a life of a felon. I don't need a felony on the record. My fingerprints are in the system. I can't commit no crimes. I can't. I've been fingerprinted and vetted since I was 18. I can't get away with nothing. So no. But yeah,
I'm not fingerprinted in the system, but I do have a level of petty that I acknowledge and I embrace it. But I realized, and I've most recently allowed someone to get me to that space where I definitely lit the match and burnt the bridge down. Now, some would say, if I gave the situation, that you had every right to. Just because you have the right to, though, this is where I've learned. I forget now. Since then, I've forgiven myself. I've asked God for forgiveness. I've even apologized to that person. Now, they may not be willing to accept my apology, and that's on them. I can't control someone's response to me. But I know that when I did let myself get there, it was me. I allowed myself. I'm learning now my learning from that is not to your point, now allowing somebody to get me to that point and learning to put the phone down or disengage. Because I know when I get there, I'm going for blood. Like Jasmin said, I know my mouth. I can fight, but I don't fight no more, right? I didn't really have one fight in high school.
But you had to hang up your boxing gloves.
I don't do that. And I had one, and I was like, even then I said, hey, I don't want to fight you. Let's just don't talk about me. She's like, no, I do what I want. I was like, I'm just trying to, again, I come off, I start slow. I start low. I said, hey, I don't want to fight with you. Just keep my name out your mouth. I'll say what I want. Meet me at 2:30. No, we're not going to meet nowhere. We're not planning to fight. We're going to fight here. And that's what happened. But now, current day, I do the same thing. Like, hey, I don't want to do this with you. And they still keep, this is my problem with conflict styles. You do something, right, passive aggressively. And then when I tell you, well, and it's not just if I'm saying I did this because you did that. Oh, I just said that. I didn't. No. We always say this. Well, our theme of this podcast is you can't measure impact.
Right.
What you did, I deemed it as disrespectful. You can downplay as much as you want, but then to maximize my response to you is not, for me, is a problem. And what pushes me over the edge, because like I said last week, you can't throw the rock and then when I punch you back, when you hit me, you sneak punch me in the side and I punch you in your face. Now you want to focus on the fact that I punch you in your face, but you don't want to take accountability that you poke me. You know what I'm saying? So that's the part that I'm dealing with and learning to manage, because I don't want to allow someone to get there, because like you said, it can damage relationships to the point beyond repair. And I have to deal with the consequence. And I've sat with the fact that I allow myself to get to a place where we may never talk again. But also, you're going to learn to never cross that line with me again. If we were to ever, hopefully you learned that's not the line you want to cross with me. Because like you only take so much.
Yeah.
So
it's like, don't throw rocks inside your hands. I don't like that.
You can't. Don't do that.
Like,
and then when I flip off on you, I've never been disrespected. Well, I ain't never had nobody do the stuff you did either. Like just because you don't say things verbally, but you do things. You do things. And again, it's just to bring self-awareness. Take accountability for your actions. At least, like I said, I'll take accountability for full accountability for the breakdown of the communication. I play because it takes two. We both play the role in this thing. But if you're not even want to see yourself and hear yourself, I got to go.
Yeah,
I gotta go. So I also think, right? Like we talked about, like what's our fighting styles, and I think that like you kind of have like a way in which you approach different things. But similar to something that Jasmin said earlier, I think sometimes we also learn to weaponize some of our behaviors or some of the things that we're skilled at, right? So Jasmin is skilled at being able to manipulate a conversation to go the way that she wants it or needs it to go, right? I learned how to weaponize my nonchalantness to the point where I've had people in tears. And because I knew or I know that I can do that, but that was one of my conflict styles. Like I'm going to be so nonchalant that you're so pissed off at the fact that I'm not giving you any energy that I found joy in it. And I had to learn that is not, that wasn't nice. And it wasn't, I literally had my boss cry in a meeting because of my nonchalantness on a previous job. She thought it was a good idea to bring the whole office into a meeting to talk about me being late. Fine. I addressed it. She kept going. I sat right in front of her desk with my legs crossed, swirling my Starbucks cup. And I just drank my Starbucks while she went through all her emotions. And because I gave her nothing, she literally started crying in the meeting. And then I started laughing at her because now I feel like you're foolish. You're foolish.
Because that tells you she was trying to get a reaction from you anyway. Her goal was to get a reaction from you. And you didn't give that to her. So she like imploded.
She broke down. I'm like, and you look ridiculous now. Your whole work, we had a small office. It was 6 of us. So you wanted to gather us all here. And she lost her office that day. Everybody lost respect for her that day because you thought that it was going to be a good idea to berate me for being late.
Yeah.
I'm fine. This is work. I don't give a shit. I don't know you people outside of here. I don't need to be friends with you. I write my check. That's all I need. You sign that check, direct deposit. That's it.
And see, at work, I could be very much, I don't care. And I remember one time my boss was like, do you even care? And I was like, I'm listening. But like work, I'm very different. I'm not as emotional. I'm like,
I'm not invested in you people. Right. I care enough to get a check. But I'm not emotionally invested in you people. My mother taught me very young, you go to work to make $1, not a friend. Sometimes you get lovely friends out of work, but that's not the purpose of going. Like, that's not the purpose. You know what I mean?
Guess what? Because with these jobs, I had a friend who literally passed away from an aneurysm. They was separating, they was divvying out her pins the next day. They gave her family $100 and divvy up her stuff the next day. So no. Y'all not about to have me up here in a crazy house, sick and burnt out over y'all.
And being nonchalant was also something that used to irritate my mother. So it's like I learned to cultivate that very young, right? So it was like
I have to make a restroom break. Y'all continue. I'll be back. Okay.
So it wasn't the best fighting style, but that was how I also dealt with conflict with her, right? Okay. So it's like. If she will put me on punishment, I'm going to read a book and it's going to be the best book I've ever read in my life because that's going to annoy you. Like you punished me for me to be sad. I'm laughing. I'm doing all of these things. And I'm reading. Like, what are you going to tell me? Don't read? So I learned to weaponize that to be able to fight with it. But I don't use that tactic anymore. Yeah. But it's very easy for me to tap right on into it. Like Oh, that's
I think from my mother, I shut down because I was so afraid of being disrespectful that I would just shut down. I would just get quiet. So I won't speak to her because I know how I feel and what I really want to say, but I won't say that to her because she's my mother. So with mom, like you said, based on relationship, I'll shut down. My kids, I'm more confrontational, right? And then like in an intimate relationship, to your point, like you said earlier, like I expect you to know me enough to know certain things about me, especially when you get to a certain point, like a certain point in the journey, that we've had enough going back and forth that you should know me to know like the right way to approach me. If you care, I think if you care enough to know to like the right way to approach me, the right way to address me, to bring something to my attention. And that's my frustration gets like Manny always says, I start off like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's, but when I have to learn to manage my emotion, and I don't know what I weaponize now, I guess, and I do manage it pretty well, but I just allowed it to get me to the point where I was just like, okay, because even that moment I went there, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's de-escalate. Thank you for this opportunity. Cool. And they kept like being a jerk. And then I was like, you know what? Okay, gloves off. You know what? Because now okay. So I was over here trying to be nice with you. I've been nice with you the whole time. I've been you've been ignoring me. You're doing all this. All right, cool. So let's. You ready? You ready? So now, okay. So in case nobody told you, let me. And then because it's like, we all in relationship, you give grace, and there's things that may not always like about somebody and things. But let me. Since you don't want to see yourself, let me show you yourself. Since you don't want, and this is what I did. Oh, you don't want to see yourself? Let me show you yourself. Let me tell you about yourself. Because you sitting here on this throne like you so high and mighty above reproach, and you're not willing to see. So let me read you a cute few lines. And like to your point, I know my mouth is I will read you so bad I'll have you contemplating your life. I've made grown men cry as a kid because I know I'm observant because part of my humor is I'm observant. So I know how to pick you apart in ways. I said to the person, now all this time I told you I wasn't malicious, but now you got to side of me. I'm intentionally trying to hurt your feelings. Yep. I didn't always think this way, but I know because I'm observant and the way my humor is. Now I'm gonna take the stuff that I probably would laugh about or joke about, and I'm gonna take it to hurt your feelings. And I'm gonna read you for filth. And now you're like, who are you? Who are you? You push me to this point. I don't know you.
Listen, when people tell you, show you who they are,
believe
them. If I tell you what I'm capable of, and you take that as some type of weakness, or this never.
You disrespected me.
Don't play.
And I did say. Now I wasn't supposed to say the MF in part, Jazz, but I said, stop playing in my face. The warning was given. The warning. Hey, let's clear the room. Hello.
It's a warning.
Like kept playing. Maybe you ever never played a woman's face like mine. Let me show you what we do over here. I told you.
This is now I could be wrong because I'm a hopeless romantic, and I do believe in I believe in forgiveness, and I believe in redemption. Right? I've seen redemption firsthand in my life. Right? I've seen people redeem their lives. I've seen it firsthand, so I know that it's possible.
Yes.
So this is what I think about stuff like that. Right? I had a relationship with this dude, and he played himself. And I'm the type of person, there's a part of me was like, I'm just going to allow you to be yourself. It's kind of like, I'm going to let you hang yourself. Like, you're going to do things, and over time, at some point, it's going to come to a head, right? So that was how I dealt with him. And he played himself once. Cool. Take care. Then he played himself again. The second time, I dug into the play. Oh, okay, cool. But when I dug into it, it wasn't from a place of me being petty. It was just me responding because I hadn't responded the other time. So this time I'm responding. So his response to me, he said something to me that I could not process. And I won't share it because it's live. And he called me two things. No, it was one word. And it took me to some place I had never been. And I said, you calling me that after what you just did with me yesterday? That's what we doing?
You had enough.
And I was done. Like, listen, this dude, that's a whole other conversation. Literally, like a couple months later, he was sleeping in his car because he lost his apartment, and he was sleeping in a parking lot. And I was like, well, I wish you the best. I don't know what you want me to do. Because I had told, like, I gave you indication, I had conversation, and I said, do me a favor. One thing, don't lie to me, because things come to me. I'm not the type of person. Things just reveal to me. And in that conversation, something was revealed to me that I wasn't even looking for. And his disrespect of me, I was not equipped to handle. Mm-hmm. You talking to me? Do you know what the fuck I am? Like, that was my response to it. And I prayed and I let it go. Then there was a space where I was like, okay, I'm gonna forgive, I'm gonna let it go. And then he did something else. And then I was like, okay, there's a line between redemption and forgiveness. So we've had this interaction, it blew up. I tried to redeem it, it didn't work. For someone else's situation that I know, I don't know, I'm just saying in general, somebody I know. No, for a friend of mine.
Gotcha. You following?
I think I'm not going to say that I think there's redemption available, like redemption is possible, but I do believe if two people can have a conversation with a mediator, right, and actually sit and accept who they showed up as in that situation, I think redemption and forgiveness is possible, even though the table got flipped on them. That's just my opinion.
I totally agree. I agree there's space for redemption. I agree there's space for reconciliation for any situation where a table was flipped. But to your point, the people have to be willing to see themselves. And listen, God is a miracle worker. God can do anything. But if he can soften Pharaoh's heart, he can change anybody. So he's changing me. He's changing me. Sorry, go ahead.
But no, but I want to hear Jasmin because that's why I said it.
That's why you said it?
Uh-huh.
No, I agree with what both of you said. I do think that it is possible, but all parties involved have to be willing to do the work, because we can sit with a mediator and we can discuss what great possibilities we have ahead of us, but it still takes work. So after we leave this today, then where do we go? Are we going to continue to go see the mediator, the counselor, whoever, or is this a one-off? Because this is a one-off, 9 times out of 10, your behavior is not going to change. This just feels good right now.
Right.
So acknowledging the feel good versus the actual redemption, because the redemption is what you also have to want, not what I'm granting you. Yeah. You want to also be redeemed.
So you have to earn that. That's earning, because to get to the point of saying, okay, let's redeem this and fix this, you both have to regain trust in each other to grant that access, the level of access again. It's not going to go right back to the same thing. That's unrealistic to think it's going to go right back. Because first of all, I wouldn't want what was. So it have to be new. If we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really relationship nice for people to acknowledge what was and the mistakes that they've made and how they showed up. And it's okay to still leave them right where they are.
Yeah, that too. That too.
Like we can resolve, we can have a resolution, and I can forgive you, and I can do those things, and I can still leave you right where you
there.
Are.
Yeah,
well, that's real. So we are at 2 hours and 15 minutes.
My God,
so
time
Jasmin,
by fast. It's a great.
Jasmin, do you have any final words? Wait, one thing. Kiki, can you share some of the thoughts and like energy you've been getting from the comment section? Because my folks haven't really been saying much; they just been joining. Oh. She didn't cut herself. She hit the wrong button. She'll be back. I think so. I don't know. I hope she come back. She's still on here though. Oh, there she go.
I left.
What
I somehow was moving my mouse and I hit the wrong. I left the studio. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So yes, my people have been very engaged. I appreciate y'all. So a few things. I'm gonna go back. When we was talking about one comment was like we was talking about when we share our offenses with each other, without whoever. Jerome said that he thinks leading with my experience like this in the moment is helpful because feelings can be judgment versus I feel like, right? So I've learned that from Elon Nebenzaat. So I've learned that I use practice like when you do this, I feel like that versus saying you're hurting me. And I would just say how action makes me feel. So
or you always do that.
Right.
That's the always never part. It's like you always do that. So that would
right. And then speaking on staying in relationships, sometimes he was saying that sometimes we stay for return on our investment. What we think if I put this much time into this person, I want to at least see my benefit. Or like, if I leave and he go to the next chick, and then because we have times we've seen the men, they leave you and go off to get married and become the man you was trying to get them to become.
Mm-hmm.
The softened
I just tell myself that I help the other person.
I help. Right. Congratulations.
Thank me.
Yeah.
Thank me
for
dealing with the bullshit for you to get this
refined. This refined gentleman that you have now. So yeah, it was a lot of just kind of co-signing things we've said and given their experience and the things we were talking about. Just a lot of people relating to us, and I appreciate the engagement. I saw a couple times I was laughing at what they were saying because it's definitely like just just relating and being engaged in the conversation. I appreciate everyone who's checked in, whether you stayed the whole time or checked in here and there. I appreciate the support and engagement. So yeah, my people always come in here and show love. I appreciate all y'all who have.
I think that's dope. I'm glad that people are engaged. Like I see a lot of people join on mine, but I don't know, for some reason I can't scroll up and down. So it's like as
I can see the comments.
Yeah, I don't see the comments. Like I see people join. Like a few people said something, but it's like it's up. I can't really see it. But
I don't know how many. I've had at least 19 people come in. Oh, now, I don't know how long they've stayed, but there's been at least 9 people coming to check out, and I appreciate the love on that. So, and the playback will be posted on YouTube. So if you miss anything, you want to watch the playback, skip, fine, go back to certain points. Feel free to.
Yeah, on Wednesday. So Jasmin, how was this experience for you?
It was actually fun. Like for those who are tuning in, this is completely out of my comfort zone. This is not what I do. Like I could talk to Jasmin all day. We talk like this and we shoot the shit like all the time and that's whatever. But I don't do, public speaking. So this was fun.
You did good.
Experience. I hope y'all invite me back sometime.
Yes, I already have ideas when I want you to come back. But because I think I think you're like a really even kill between my approach to things and then Kiki's approach to things. Because I think sometimes
why you gotta go over here with me? Like why I can't be straight up? Why I gotta be like this? Okay.
Because you be flipping tables. That's
Not no more. Hold on. The pastor said I changed my name. The Lord is working on me. He changed. I'm under surgery, and I'm don't call me what I used to be. Thank you. Okay.
Jesus flipped tables
anymore. He did. Nah, that was also my excuse too.
This was what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to figure out who she is right now. That's why I don't know. I didn't know what version this was.
She's working on being born again.
Yeah,
and refining herself.
God's refining me, and I still can flip the table. It's still within me. Like I'm not because she ain't no punks.
She also could have just let me do my hand the way I did. No. She didn't have to say anything.
It felt judgy.
It what?
It felt judgy.
Okay, but what was said that was judgment? Oh, so you felt that? I don't have any. I can't control your feelings.
I didn't say you could. I just asked the question. Like I asked, but it was intentional, was it not?
No, it wasn't actually.
You said it was intentional.
But she did both hands, Kiki. She did both
hands.
I
thought one was straight, one was like this. And I asked, hold on, I said, why do you do like this for me? And you said, because sometimes you be flipping the table. You did say that.
I just said that. That was just me responding because I'm just like, why are you even asking me that? That wasn't what I
to me. Okay, I'll say this. When I like your hand, when you said you was up like this and it looked like this for me, that's why I asked, why the difference?
I didn't
Okay,
even know.
Clarified. I forgive you.
You forgive me? I didn't ask for your goddamn forgiveness. Girl, forgiveness. I ain't apologize for nothing. And
you don't gotta apologize to get forgiven.
I didn't ask for your forgiveness. You can keep it. Save that for a later date when I actually want it, because I don't need it right now. Now,
you can't control somebody.
Jasmin is in the middle. Is that better? Is that better?
I like
my
it better.
fingers are naturally twisted. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate you stepping out of your comfort zone. I appreciate you for your ability to counsel without judgment. You are one of the least judgmental people that I've ever met in my life. So I appreciate that, because sometimes I be wanting her to be on my side, and she'd be like, but like, I didn't ask you that. I just want you to tell me that what I said was right, or what I want to do is right.
Man, I love that you're that. Yeah, I love that you're that for her, because she's that for me. I love that she gets that too. I really appreciate you, Jasmin.
And she does the same thing to me.
Oh, absolutely. But it just
she definitely know how to do a me to me. She knows how to put a me on me.
Okay.
But it's about different things. See, my conversation is always about relationships, and it's more about like with men trying to like navigate relationships with men. Her stuff is a little bit different. That's why when she said manipulate conversation, that's why I laughed, because I do know how to get what I need out of a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I don't be meaning it. I be meaning it for good. I want you to get to what you need.
It's not always for good.
It's not always for good, guys. Don't even do that. No,
you're in my heart.
No, it's not.
Y'all can't tell me what my intention is.
You already said that. You already said you do it for being petty and getting what you want.
I'm not with y'all too.
Okay, but don't say.
No,
I know, but even with us two, it depends on the conversation. We're not
I always want the best version of you.
That always.
I want the best version of you to come out of this conversation. So sometimes I have to set it up so that we get to the truth.
Can I tell you? Sometimes
now, Jasmin,
get on my goddamn nerves.
You brought this part up. No. I didn't say that. You said it. So let me clarify something. When I do that, am I getting to something that's actually true that you just have?
Sometimes I don't want to be analyzed. I don't want it.
To you. I'm talking.
We got to clarify. We got 3 people on the call. You say Jasmin? Oh, sorry, my bad. I didn't hear that.
No. She got trauma from yesterday, but I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. But go ahead. Go ahead, Jasmin.
Sorry. What was your question?
Now, when I do that, isn't it because we're trying to get to the truth of the matter?
Yes, we're trying to uncover some things or unpack some things, or sometimes to make me see where I lack confidence. And like yesterday when I told you to hush. But
yeah, she told me. Oh, both of y'all was on. Yeah, yesterday she told me too. Both of y'all was on me yesterday. I was like, I don't know what I did to people, but I've been getting on people's nerves. So listen, one of my skill sets is I am really, really great at identifying talent and gifts in my friends and the people in my life. True. And when I see it, I'm like, yo, you do this thing really well. You should think about what that looks like. You know what I'm saying? And if any of your family is watching, it has been a long journey for this woman to admit that she's a clinician. It's been a journey.
Jasmin has been very influential in my decision to go back to school and to actually get this degree. So she does see things. I can attest that she sees things in me that I try to suppress sometimes. So
you know what? And I pray that all your friends, I pray that all of your friends are able to see the things that you're able to see and to help them be the best that they can be. As us two, as your friends, are able to see that. I pray that trickles down and all of them are able to see themselves and how you see them to help them be a better person.
I pray that too. But what I have learned, in 2024 is that everybody don't want to see the best version of themselves.
So we're going to pray that God opens their eyes.
And I have learned to accept that. I have learned to accept that. I have learned to say, Kiki yesterday, she said something to me about, we were talking about the crying thing. And I was like, so can you unpack that? And she was like, oh.
I mean, but it's the same thing. You want to unpack why I don't cry or why crying makes me uncomfortable. Like, I
don't feel like it.
When it comes to I am fascinated by human behavior.
I know.
I am fascinated by how people respond, how we react. Like, I am fascinated. Like, I feel like, really, me as a person, I'm really blessed because I have such, like, I remember one time somebody said to me, you have more than one best friend? I'm like, yeah, I have multiple best friends. They come into my life. They've come into my life for different, at different points and things. And I'm blessed enough that most of them get along with each other for the most part, right? And there's no force. Like, I can bring all the people that really matter to me in one room, and nobody's gonna get cursed out, and nobody, so like, it's gonna be cool. I'm really, and I really do. I thank God for that. I know that I have a gift when it comes to like identifying greatness in people. Like, my friends are fucking dope. Like, they have these really great skills. Listen, I can't think I'll be joking, but this heifer is gonna write a comedy special. And I don't know if it's going to be a one-woman show. I don't know if she's writing for other characters, but it's going to happen. You can rest assured. She's going to write some comedy.
I've never seen myself in that space, but I appreciate you seeing that in me.
But I'm telling you, it's not her, it's God. Because nobody thinks that quick unless they're supposed to use it. Like, you got to like tap into your gifts and your talents.
I received that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it's uncanny. I'd be like, yo, like, who thinks about it? And I'm someone who, quote unquote, manipulates conversation. I don't be catching it. I be like, damn, that was good. That was
quote unquote.
She already admitted to it earlier tonight, but okay, that was quote unquote. It's not adding up, Jazz.
According
not adding up.
Yes. Nah, but
okay.
The jig is up. Everybody,
right. We already. What are we talking about here? Let's go ahead and just walk in it.
Yeah, but I do use my powers for good. I just want to say that I do use my powers for good. I do my best to use my powers for good.
Well, that's the majority of the time. Yes, majority of the time we are aligned.
I'm gonna say like 90% of the time. The other 10% is questions.
I could agree with that.
90% of the time. The other 10%.
Okay.
It depends on where my hormone levels. It depends on where I am in my cycle.
Jazz is like, Kiosha, I cried today. What happened? I don't know. I don't know what happened.
I don't know why I was
hormones. I was like, okay, Jazz, take it easy.
She'd be like, you all right? I'm like, I'm okay. I'm just very emotional today. Everything is just getting up to
but I appreciate that you can appreciate my humor. When I do crack a joke, you don't take it as me trying to disrespect you. I appreciate you for respecting us and appreciating our gifts. Thank you. You are truly gifted yourself. You are a phenomenal mind and researcher and great mind, writer, public.
Jasmin is a great connector of people.
Yeah, she is.
Or opportunities.
She connects you.
Like, Jasmin is Kiki.
Yo, Kiki.
You've been
wait. No, Lauren, wait. We connected. We got in this live, but Lauren. Wait, I'm talking about Lauren. Lauren did a webinar at MHUSA. Whatever time. MHU. I could be talking about Lauren. You connected to a lot of people. You connected me to Jad. You connected me to Kima. You connected me to a lot of folks. I just said you're a connector. It's a little okay. It was a sub. Okay.
You talking about us?
I can sub. I can shoot them off.
You don't listen. You don't have to sub. You got laser focus.
Oh yeah.
He hits a bullseye every time.
Every time. You know,
I'm like, yo, she don't miss. And the funny part about it is that when you listen, you be like, yo, that shit is so funny and it's real. Like, I don't know, people like that.
Even the ones I pissed off, they've laughed and then got mad at. That's weird. So I'm sorry, real quick. How do you laugh and then get mad?
Because they thought about it.
They
sat with it like, wait a minute.
This shit just say.
And they're not ready. They're not ready to accept that type of truth in their lives. Like, I used to have this thing when I used to do poetry, and I used to use a hashtag truth only, even when it hurts.
Yeah, man.
I want the truth of everything within reason even if it makes me uncomfortable and even if it hurts. Like I have had some very uncomfortable conversations with myself, my therapist, and Jasmin.
Yeah. Like Jerome said in the comment section earlier, he said he had to stand butt naked in the mirror. Had a conversation. Like sometimes you got to stand in the mirror butt naked, like, yo, this is it.
Yes.
This is
Like,
it.
and that's why I don't want nobody in my house a lot, because I like to walk around my house naked. Because it's therapeutic.
Right.
I know it was off topic, but I just needed to say that.
I just want to say I didn't cry. I thought I was going to cry tonight because this is a very sensitive topic for me. But I think good. I think this is showing that I'm healing. I think good.
And I also encourage you to cry if you need to cry.
I do cry, but I don't force to cry. Like I sometimes things trigger me to cry, and I thought because this is literally the reason why I walked away from a relationship. I thought it was going to trigger some things. And again, I don't have any hard feelings. I don't harbor any hate towards this person. I pray them and wish them the best. But this is part of my lived experience. So I thought I anticipated maybe some tears tonight, but I think that didn't happen.
You did good. Yeah. You did good. You was in it. Jasmin, what would you have done if Kiki would have started crying today?
Observed.
Yo, you're stupid, Jazz. They even asked that question. Just said that like, okay.
Yo, that even killed nonchalant.
That's hilarious.
Observed. Yo, that
I was observed.
I have to. That is some unpacking that I have to do. I don't know why other people's tears make me uncomfortable, but that
has to be another conversation. We talked about that last night. That sometimes our friends don't have the capacity to deal with our emotions, and it's not because they're not our friends. They just crying and certain emotions make them uncomfortable. And understanding your friend's bandwidth.
Like, once that happens, it's just like.
Okay. At least I appreciate you being able to listen, because some friends can't even do that. So
no, I called my uncle the other day to ask him about what was going on with like my cousin, and he like broke down, and I was holding the phone like I wasn't prepared for this. What am I supposed to do with this now? Like I just wanted to answer.
You like sitting like, wait, I didn't want you to cry.
Yeah, like I was like, I just wanted the answer. Like, how's my cousin? That's
okay.
I listen. I like people. I appreciate people who can be the calm even when there's chaos and a storm.
Yeah.
They can just kind of show up. Like I can do it, but to an extent.
Yeah.
Like I remember one time I went to go visit a friend and they was locked up, and I slid down the wall.
What you mean?
Because I was so emotional. I couldn't believe what I was.
Like you slid, like you did the cry, like
yes. I swear to God. And this is why.
Wait, how old were you?
I was an adult. I was like in my 20s.
And you went to see a friend in jail and slid down the wall?
Yes. God, I couldn't take it.
Yo, I would have laughed, and I couldn't have been there for that. I'd have like, what are you doing?
No, it was hilarious. It was the funniest shit. Other people laughed though. Like after we got in the car, they was like, "Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you?" I was like, "No."
You know, I'm realizing how sensitive. I never knew how like you're Cancer though. You are very emotional. I'm realizing now more how emotional you're very sensitive.
I'm very sensitive. I tell people
like I want you to curse people like Kyoshi, I can't do that. I can't. I'm like, curse them out. Like that person. You be like, no, I can't.
Somebody I care about is so this is the thing with Cancer that people get misconstrued with Cancers. We are very sensitive. When we love and we care, we care. But when I don't give a damn, I don't give a damn. If it's something that I care about, remember I told you I don't live on the surface. I live below. So it's like if I care, I care. But when I saw my friend with an orange jumpsuit, I lost it. I leaped up against that wall. I was,
you know, I thought Kashana was a dramatic one.
Hilarious.
It was hilarious.
Funny.
Yo, when I tell you, one day I got to tell y'all about my when we do a podcast, I got to tell y'all about my hangover experience. Like the movie, I had like a real hangover experience in real life, but it'll take too long. But I really slipped down the wall. Like I really had I got stories for days. Like I got so many stories. My life I'm like on my 7th life right now. You'll be like, what? Oh, shoestrings, all kinds of shit. We'll talk about. Listen, I'm here for story time. I'll tell you when we get on camera. Now, the thing about the thing with like sliding down the wall, right? And when because I used to work with formerly incarcerated youth. Mm-hmm. And when I will always tell them I can't go into the facility because I already knew what was going to happen. And you can't work in a facility with youth in detention and be sensitive and emotional. It would have never worked. It would have been terrible. Yeah. So I feel like that's what God gave me, that awareness from that day. Because he knew that was going to come up in my professional journey, where I was going to be working with a particular group of young people who were in this situation. And I was able to say, hey, I can help you on the outside. I can help you on the inside. Because I can't come inside to work with you. I can't. But anyway, I just want to tell everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying tuned in. Thank you for participating, Jasmin. Thank you for stepping outside your comfort zone. I am so proud of your continued growth and just embracing all of the gifts, because she has many. She is the former proprietor of an amazing bakery that I'm still waiting for some cupcakes, but that's a whole other conversation. Don't make that face.
You saw my face change?
Yes, I saw it. I saw it immediately. But yeah, Jasmin, hold on. Kiki, you want to say any final words?
I just thank you, Jas, for going outside of your comfort zone and joining us tonight. I enjoy getting to know you more over these more recently. It's a pleasure to get to know you more, and just thank you. I'm tired, so my words are gone, but thank you again. I'm sure we'll recap later, but thanks again for joining us. Thanks for everyone who came on. Yeah, but my words have to go out the window, and it's like I'm talking jibber jabber at some point. But I just really enjoyed this. I just got some feedback. I was reading some feedback I got in my DM, just saying like thank you for the insightful conversation, and that I just hope that this helps somebody. What happened?
Wait, I'm in the live. Wait, I'm in the live.
Good night, y'all. Peace, y'all.
Kiki, don't leave.